This is going to be the last building block of identifying slope and slope-intercept form before we transition into solving systems, okay? So we know that slope-intercept form, an equation form, looks like y equals mx plus b, okay? We know that m stands for slope. We know that b stands for y-intercept. So on the upper right-hand sheet of your paper, just do me a favor and rewrite slope equation, the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b.
It's not me.
Okay, so we are going to, this isn't your example, but we're going to look at the example I have up on the board here, which is going to be the same thing as what you guys have on example 1. All you're going to do is you're going to look at this line, and you're going to identify what the slope is, or excuse me, what the y-intercept is, what the slope is, and then write it in slope-intercept form, okay? So example number 1, we're going to use the graph of the line to determine the slope and the y-intercept, then write the equation of the line. During the opener, I forget who told me that the first thing I need to do is identify the y-intercept. Is that Emily? So we're going to label our coordinate plane. So we're going to label that y-axis and x-axis. And I'm going to find the y-intercept. Now the y-intercept is where that line crosses the y-axis. So what's my y-intercept here?
1.
Okay. 1. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to write my y-intercept is 1. Then from there, I'm able to find what my slope is. So in order to find my slope, I need to identify my next lattice point. Who can come up and show me my next lattice point on the screen? Or who's lazy and doesn't want to come up but can show me on the iPad?
I can.
Show me on the iPad. And then where's my next lattice point going to be at? Yeah. So my next lattice point is going to be right there. So from my slope, or excuse me, from my y-intercept to my slope, I'm going to find my rise over run. So if I find my rise over run, what is it going to be? 2 over 1. Okay. And now I need to write it in slope-intercept form. Yes. You just got it? Just click.
Up 2 over 1.
Yeah. Rise. Run.
I always thought it was just because the number's over the 1 on the line.
No, rise over run.
I
Hey,
didn't know it meant over.
I like when that light bulb goes off, so it's okay. Okay, so we're going to write it in the equation. So we're going to write y equals
2 over 1 x plus 1.
okay. What's another way I could write it?
Y equals 2x plus 1.
Either way would be acceptable to turn it in on your homework assignment or quiz or a test, okay? They both mean the same thing. All right, let's take a look at the next example. All right, example number 2. Riley, what's the first thing I have to identify?
The x and y axis.
Okay, and after I do that, then what?
You find the y-intercept.
Okay, I'm going to find the y-intercept. What's y-intercept mean? Anybody help out? What does y-intercept mean?
The y-intercept.
The slope.
No. The y-intercept is where the line crosses the... Well, the y-intercept is where the line crosses the
Y-axis.
y-axis, yeah. So what's my y-intercept here?
Negative 1.
Negative 1.
And up 2.
So then, now wait.
Wouldn't you go
Remi-
down 2?
Good. So remember, we don't read right to left, do we? We read left to right, just like reading a graph. We're going to go left to right. So if I make my first point here, I'm going to go to the right to find where I can put my next point, and I'm going to have to find a lattice point, okay?
So it's negative 2.
Yeah, and you should know it's a negative automatically by just the direction of the line, right?
Yeah.
Because what did slope dude tell us? Nice, negative. Okay, so we're going to start from our y-intercept. And Josh already said, well, then we're going to go down. So how many do we go down?
-2.
Over
3.
3. So again, it's a -2 because we counted down over 3. So my equation is then going to look,
Oh shoot, y equals -2 over 3 minus 1.
it's almost perfect.
-2x.
There you go. Don't forget your x. That's what identifies what the slope is.
Yeah.
Okay?
Don't forget it.
Don't forget it. It's important. Okay. Example number 3. Dylan, tell me what to do after I identify my x and y axes.
You mark it right in the middle because it's going on the y-axis.
So that's where that line crosses the y-axis, is right there in the middle. Meaning our y-intercept is what?
0.
0. Okay? From here, what do I need to do, Maddie? Okay, and how do I find my m? What do I have to identify?
Where which point is.
Okay, and where is that? Can you show me?
Sorry, I'm really like not into it right now.
Here, look right here. Where's that line cross through? Right in the corner of those grid lines.
In here.
Yeah, right there. You got it. Feeling okay? Okay. So Maddie helped us determine what our next point is. And now that we have 2 points, we can find the slope. Automatically, we should know what about the slope. It's going to be a negative. And I'm going to start at my point to the furthest left, and I'm going to find my rise over my run. So which direction do I go? Down 3 and over 2. So my slope is negative. All right, Chance, tell me what this is going to look like in slope-intercept form. Tell me what this is going to look like in slope-intercept form.
Y equals -3/2x plus 0.
Okay, now what if I want this in simplest form? How would you write it in simplest form?
Y equals -3/2x.
That's right. So, 2 ways that you can write it. You can write it as y equals -3/2x plus 0, or you could just simply write y equals -3/2x. Because if you don't have something there for the y-intercept, we know that it is 0. Okay, Ben, you're going to do example number 4 for me.
There you go. Now I might have done now.
Nope, I want you to stay with me.
Yeah.
Good, stay with me. Example number 4, Ben, what do I do first?
I'm not.
It'll be -2. Put it at the bottom.
What did you find for me?
B,
Okay, so the B, which stands for,
y-intercept.
okay. And then,
Then I went up 1, over 1, so it'd be 1 over 1 for m.
No. Would it?
yep. What did I do? What mistake? Well, it's not necessarily a mistake, but I didn't use the lattice points closest together. What happens when you don't use lattice points that are closer together?
But it's an -1.
Is it a 1? Is it a negative? If you go up and over, if I look at this slope, I know what kind of,
The B is -2.
uh-huh.
But if you go up, it's positive.
Yeah, it doesn't, the y-intercept doesn't determine if our slope is positive or negative. That's just where that line crosses on the y-axis. Our slope is what tells us if the line's going to be positive or negative. So if we're looking at this, remember we're going puff, puff, positive. So our slope is going to be positive. So when I go to write my equation, though, in slope-intercept form, what variable do I write first?
Are you asking me?
Sure.
Y equals 1 over 1x minus 2.
And what's another way to write this?
Y equals 1x minus 2.
What's another way to write this?
Y equals x minus 2.
Nice. Good job. So either way would be okay. So there's 3 different ways that you could write this final answer. It's supposed to be water. Reason being, because if you spill that, it gets sticky on the floor. Oh, wait. Example number 5. Hannah, you've been really quiet. Tell me what to do. I think you guys get this. Thumbs up if you got this. Like you could ace a quiz on this right now. Thumbs in the middle if you do okay on it. And thumbs down if you have no idea what I'm talking about yet.
I can't stretch my arm.
Why can't you stretch your arm?
It's super sore.
You're like the second person that's talked about being sore. Okay, Hannah, what do I find first?
Go down 3.
Okay, and that's going to represent my,
Y-intercept.
that's the -3. Then what?
And up 1 over 3.
And that's going to represent my,
Slope.
and then in slope intercept form,
Y equals 1 over 3x plus minus -3.
nice. Questions? No? You guys, did you not get sleep this weekend?
I got like half an hour sleep last night, so.
Hannah?
I did not sleep at all.
Ben?
I watched Candyman last night.
What was it?
Candyman.
Oh, that's where you look in the mirror and you say it 3 times, right? 5? Okay. Yeah, nope.
Yeah, get your stuff right. Come on.
It's been years since I've watched that. All right. Now, I do apologize. When I went to print, for some reason my horizontal lines don't want to print well. So example number 6, you can't really see it on your paper. I mean, you can vaguely see it. It's that bolder line. So where's it going to cross the y-intercept? If you look at my example problem, where does that cross the y-intercept? So we're going to go up 3. So if you'd like, or I would like you guys to draw that line in, okay?
Mine was already there.
Okay, yes. I don't know what happened to it. It just didn't agree with the printing process. So we know that the y-intercept is 3.
And it's 0.
Then my slope is what, Josh? 0. But how would I show that it's 0? 0 over 1. Okay? So, several ways that I can write this. What's one way that I can write this?
Just put 0. Y
Or
equals
X.
0 plus 3. Put 0x plus 3.
I'd write it like that. That'd be wrong. What do I need to put first? Y equals, sorry, keep going.
0x plus 3.
0x plus 3. Okay, I wouldn't want to put 0x, because if I put the x there, it shows that it's what?
There's still an X.
Yeah, that there's still an x, but there's not one. So really, what's the only appropriate way to write it?
Plus 3.
How about
Y plus 3.
y plus 3? Or do I need to even put that plus 3?
Y 3.
Y equals 3. So that shows that there's 0 slope. Now, you still have to identify the m equals. You still have to show me that the slope is 0, okay? But when you go to write out your equation, you're going to write y equals 3.
I have so many different dark lines, I don't know which one's what.
I know. Those. Well, can you guess what kind of line it's going to be for number 8?
I did fine.
Yeah. Okay, example number 7. Who's been real quiet? I've heard from everybody at this point. Anybody want to go to the board? Anybody want to write on the iPad?
I want to write.
You want to write on the iPad? Okay, Ben. I'll change the color for you. There you go.
How dare you.
It's an iPad, man.
When I get my Surface Pro, and I'm able to log in.
Oh, that's what I forgot. No,
What did you forget?
I forgot I want to bring it to school.
Oh, I can't get logged in on it. So, Ben, what'd you find first?
The +1.
The positive one, which represents what?
The B.
The B, which stands for
Y-intercept.
y-intercept. Then what are you doing?
I'm going to go find M.
Okay. Emily, by just looking at this line, what type of slope does it have?
Negative.
Negative. Ben, are you finding every lattice point for us?
Maybe.
You are. Okay? Now, you can find every single lattice point, but what you don't want to do is use a lattice point and go to the left. So you can choose to do any of these lattice points as long as you use the lattice point to the left and go to a lattice point on the right. So I could use this lattice point and this one. I could use this one and this one. I could use this one and this one, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to simplify. So I would pick to use the two lattice points that are closest together. Which two are you using, Ben? Okay? And when you found the slope of those two lattice points, what did you get?
-1/1.
Okay, go ahead and write that down. And then your equation of the line is going to be oh, that's so good. What's another way of writing it?
How to erase?
Here, let me just write it smaller.
1
Okay, so another way to do it, here, you can actually make it smaller, Ben, by just roping it around like this. Squeeze it together and reposition it. Bam. So another way of rewriting it was what? Y equals,
X plus 1.
almost, not x plus 1, negative x plus 1. Okay, don't forget that negative. Or you could do y equals negative 1x plus 1. So 3 different ways again that you could write that for credit. Questions? Okay, absolutely. Let's look at example number 8. Now, example number 8, again, on your note sheet, did not want to print out. So if you could go ahead and draw that line in for me, I would appreciate it. And you would appreciate it too, because you will appreciate it too, because you can use it on your quiz or your test. Now,
That is a horrible line.
does this have a y-intercept? So what's my y-intercept going to be? 0. Does it have a slope?
Oh my god, I did the one on the wrong.
Well, it has a rise, right? What's my rise?
1.
Yeah, it's going to be 1. But my slope is 0, so it's going to be 1/0. Can I write this in a y-intercept form? Can I write an equation in slope-intercept form here? You're right, I can't. It's an empty set. Meaning if it's an empty set, you cannot write it in slope-intercept form. So what we're going to put here, so an undefined line, or an undefined slope, is going to be an empty set. Meaning you can't write it. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
You have some glitter.
For what? Like